The ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. Its name was Horizon, and it carried the hopes of 8 billion people on its metal shoulders. Inside the ship, Ambassador Park Tae-ho stood near the large window and watched the stars pass by like tiny diamonds scattered across black cloth. He was 52 years old. His hair had turned gray at the sides, and his face showed the lines of a man who had spent his life talking instead of fighting. Today he would talk for all of humanity. Today he would meet the rulers of the galaxy. "Ambassador, we are approaching Apex Prime," said Captain Lee Su-ben from behind him. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and a voice that could command 1,000 soldiers. But today, she was not here to fight. She was here to protect. Tae-ho turned and smiled. "Thank you, Captain. How does it look?" Su-ben walked to stand beside him. Through the window, they could see it now. Apex Prime, the capital station of the Galactic Council. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It floated in space like a metal flower, with 12 massive arms reaching out in all directions. Ships moved around it like insects around a hive. Thousands of them, maybe millions. "It is beautiful," Tae-ho said softly. "It is dangerous," Su-ben replied. In the hallway behind them, Lieutenant Kim Hana checked her uniform one more time. She was 28 years old and had worked with Ambassador Tae-ho for 3 years. He had taught her everything about diplomacy, how to speak, how to listen, how to find peace in the middle of anger. She believed in him completely. "Hana," Tae-ho called. "Come, see this with us." She walked forward and stood with them. Her breath caught in her throat when she saw the station. She had seen pictures, but pictures were nothing compared to this. The station was a city. No, it was a world, and somewhere inside it, 12 alien species waited to judge humanity. The Galactic Council had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. They had watched stars die and new ones born. They had seen countless species rise and fall. And now they would meet the newest children of the cosmos. Humans. The Horizon docked at one of the lower arms of the station. When the doors opened, Tae-ho stepped out first. Behind him came Hana, carrying a box of gifts. Behind her came 4 guards in dress uniforms. They carried no weapons. Tae-ho had insisted on this. "Come in peace," he had said. "We must look like peace." The hallway was long and white. Strange symbols covered the walls. Alien guards watched them pass. Some of the guards had 4 arms. Some had no eyes. Some floated in the air like ghosts. Hannah kept her face calm, but her heart was beating fast. They reached a large door. It opened, and Tae-ho walked into the council chamber. It was round and massive. 12 platforms rose from the floor, each one holding representatives of a different species. In the center, there was a small circle where visitors were meant to stand. Tae-ho walked to it and bowed deeply. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he said. His voice was calm and clear. "I am Park Tae-ho, Ambassador of the United Earth Federation. I bring greetings from my world and my people. We come seeking friendship, knowledge, and peace." Silence filled the chamber. Then, from the highest platform, a voice spoke. "So, the young species finally crawls to our door." The speaker was High Arbiter Vorlin of the Kelthus Dominion. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes that glowed like dying embers. His people were the oldest and most powerful in the council. When he spoke, others listened. "We have watched you, humans," Vorlon continued. "We saw you discover fire. We saw you kill each other over land and gold. We saw you split the atom and poison your own world. And now you come here, speaking of peace?" He laughed, and it was not a kind sound. How amusing. Tae-ho did not let his smile fade. "You are correct, High Arbiter. We have made many mistakes. We have hurt ourselves and our world. But we have also learned. We have grown. We have looked up at the stars and dreamed of a better future. That is why I am here today, to take the first step toward that dream." Hana watched with pride as her teacher spoke. She saw some of the alien representatives lean forward with interest. A small creature with blue feathers was nodding. A being made of living crystal was making sounds that might have been approval, but Vorlin's face showed only contempt. "Pretty words," he said. "Your species is good at those. But words mean nothing. Actions mean everything. And your actions have shown us what you truly are. Violent, unpredictable, dangerous. All species have violence in their history," Tejo replied gently. "I do not judge your ancestors for their wars. I only ask that you do not judge us for ours. Give us a chance to prove ourselves. That is all we ask." The debate continued for hours. Tejo answered every question with patience and wisdom. He showed the gifts humanity had brought. Art, music, stories. He spoke of human dreams and human hopes. Some council members were moved. Others remained cold. When the session ended, Tejo returned to the horizon. He sat down heavily in a chair and Hana brought him tea. "You did well, Ambassador," she said. "Did I?" He looked tired. "Vorlin hates us." I could see it in his eyes. "He will never accept humanity." "But others will," Hana said. "The feathered ones. The crystal beings. They were interested." Tejo nodded slowly. "Yes, perhaps you are right. Perhaps there is hope." He did not know that in the shadows of Apex Prime, Vorlin was already meeting with his allies. He did not know that his death had been discussed and approved. He did not know that the peace he dreamed of was already broken that night. Tejo sent a message back to Earth. His face appeared on screens across the world. He smiled, and his eyes were warm. "My fellow humans," he said, "today I spoke for all of us. I told them who we are and what we dream of. Not all of them listened, but some did. And that is enough. Peace is not built in a day. It is built one word at a time, one hand at a time, one heart at a time. I believe we can do this. I believe in us." On Earth, billions of people watched and hoped. In the council chamber, Vorlin signed an order. Ambassador Park Tejo had 3 days left to live. 3 days passed on Apex Prime, 3 days of meetings and discussions and careful words. Ambassador Park Tejo worked without rest, speaking to any council member who would listen. Some doors opened. Many stayed closed. But Tejo kept trying, because that was who he was. On the morning of the 4th day, Hana woke him with news. "Ambassador, the council has called a special ceremony. The rite of welcome. They want to formally recognize humanity as a new galactic species." Tejo sat up in his bed. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they lit up with hope. "Truly? This is wonderful news, Hana. This is what we have been working for." On the horizon, Captain Subin received the same news. She did not smile. Something felt wrong to her. She had spent 20 years in the military, and she had learned to trust her instincts. "Commander Yoon," she called to her intelligence officer. "What are the alien fleets doing?" Commander Yoon Gi-won looked at his screens. He was a quiet man who noticed things others missed. "Strange movements, Captain. Several Keltheus warships have changed position. They are now between us and the jump point back to Earth." Subin felt ice in her stomach. "Can we still send messages to Earth?" "For now. But if they activate jammers, we will be cut off." She thought for a long moment. "Record everything today. Everything. And be ready to send it all to Earth. Command the moment I give the order." In the medical bay, Dr. Beektharin prepared medicine for the ambassador. She was a gentlewoman who had joined this mission because she believed in peace. She had no idea that before the day ended she would be treating wounds instead of giving vitamins. The rite of welcome began at noon. The council chamber had been decorated with lights of every color. Representatives from all 12 species sat on their platforms. Cameras broadcast the event across the galaxy. Trillions of beings watched as Ambassador Park Tejo walked into the chamber for the last time. He wore his best suit. His gray hair was neatly combed. In his hand, he carried a small Earth flag. Behind him walked Hana and the 4 guards, still carrying no weapons. High Arbiter Vorlon stood at the center of the chamber. His gray face showed no emotion, but his eyes burned with cold fire. People of the galaxy, Vorlin announced. Today, we gather to welcome a new species to our community. Humanity has come to us seeking recognition. As is tradition, their ambassador will receive the mark of recognition from the Council. Teho walked forward. He bowed to each platform in turn, showing respect to every species. Then he stopped before Vorlin. Kneel, Vorlin commanded. Teho knelt. He looked up at Vorlin with trusting eyes. Behind him, Hana watched with pride. Her teacher was about to make history. Park Teho, Vorlin said loudly. You came here speaking of peace. You claimed humanity wants friendship. But we have discovered the truth. Teho's smile faded. Hi, Arbiter. We have found evidence that you are a spy. That your ship carries hidden weapons. That humanity plans to attack the Council and steal our technology. Vorlin's voice echoed through the chamber. For these crimes against galactic peace, the Council has reached a verdict. This is not true, Teho said, trying to stand. We have done nothing wrong. Please, let me explain. The verdict is death. The Kelthus guard stepped forward. In his hand was a plasma pistol. Before anyone could move, he aimed at Teho's chest and fired. The blue light cut through the ambassador's body. He looked down at the smoking hole in his chest with surprise. Then he looked at Hana. His lips moved, but no sound came out. He fell backward and did not move again. For 1 second, the universe was silent. Then Hana screamed. She ran to Teho and fell to her knees beside him. Blood was spreading across the white floor. She grabbed his hand, but it was already cold. She looked up at Vorlin with tears streaming down her face. Why? She cried. He only wanted peace. He only wanted. A guard struck her across the face. She fell beside Teho's body. More guards rushed forward and grabbed the human delegation. They were beaten and dragged away like animals. On the horizon, Captain Subin saw everything through the cameras. Her face turned white, then red. Her hand shook with rage. Send it, she said, her voice like broken glass. Send everything to Earth. Now. Commander G1's fingers flew across his controls. The video of the assassination, the footage of Hana being beaten, everything was compressed and sent at maximum speed toward Earth. Message sent, G1 reported. But Captain, they are jamming us now. That was the only one that got through. It is enough. Subin turned to her crew. All hands to battle stations. We are getting our people back. On Apex Prime, Vorlin addressed the galaxy. The human spy has been executed. His ship will be destroyed. Humanity will be confined to their solar system forever. Any human found outside their system will be killed. This is the law of the Council. This is justice. But Vorlin had made a mistake. He thought humans were like other species. He thought they would submit. He thought they would accept defeat and crawl back to their little blue world to live in shame. He did not understand humans at all. On Earth, the video arrived. People watched in horror as their ambassador was murdered. They saw Hana beaten on the floor. They heard Vorlin's lies about spies and hidden weapons. They knew the truth. The president of the United Earth Federation called an emergency meeting. Every nation sent their leaders. Every military sent their commanders. For 3 hours, they talked. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to surrender. But most wanted something else entirely. At midnight, the president appeared on every screen on Earth. Her name was Kong Sol-young, and she had been chosen to lead humanity through its darkest hours. My fellow humans, she began. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were full of fire. Today, the Galactic Council murdered Ambassador Park Teho. They killed him while he was kneeling in peace. They called him a spy and a criminal. These are lies. We know they are lies. The entire galaxy knows they are lies. She paused and looked directly into the camera. Teho believed in peace. He gave his life for that belief. But peace requires both sides to want it. The Council does not want peace. They want submission. They want us to kneel and accept our place as their servants. They think we are weak. They think we will be afraid. Her voice grew harder. They are wrong. We are not weak. We have fought ourselves for 200,000 years. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. We have crawled out of the mud and reached for the stars, and we will not bow to anyone." She stood up, and her shadow seemed to fill the screen. "To the Galactic Council, you have made your choice. You chose blood. Now we make ours. The United Earth Federation declares total war against the Galactic Council. We will not stop until justice is done. We will not rest until Ambassador Tejo is avenged." She raised her fist. "You wanted to meet humanity? You will." And across the earth, 8 billion voices rose in anger. The galaxy laughed at humanity's declaration of war. On 1,000 alien worlds, people watched the news and shook their heads. The humans had gone mad with grief. They would try to fight, fail, and be destroyed. It was sad, really. Almost funny. A species of 8 billion declaring war on a coalition of 8 trillion. It was like an ant challenging a mountain. "Hi, Arbiter." Vorlon received reports of the human declaration while eating his evening meal. He did not even stop chewing. "Let them come," he said to his advisors. "They have 200 ships. We have 2 million. This war will last a week." But Vorlon did not know humans. None of them did. On Earth, something was waking up. Something old. Something terrible. Admiral Choi Byung-ho stood in the command center of Earth Defense. He was 63 years old, with white hair and eyes that had seen too much death. 30 years ago, he had united Earth's armies and ended the last great war between nations. Now, he would lead humanity against the stars. "Show me everything," he ordered. His officers brought up the displays. They showed the locations of every human ship, every weapons factory, every hidden base. They showed things the galaxy did not know about. When we made first contact, Admiral Byung-ho said to his staff, "We hoped for peace. Ambassador Tejo was our hope. But hope is not a strategy. And so, we prepared for the worst." He pressed a button, and new icons appeared on the display. Hundreds of them. Hidden in asteroid fields. Hidden in the dark spaces between planets. Hidden where no one would think to look. "The Prometheus Protocol," he announced. Secret shipyards. Prototype weapons. Technologies we decided were too dangerous to show the Council, because we knew that someday someone might try to destroy us. His officers stared at the display. They had known about some of these secrets, but not all. Not nearly all. In another building, Director Shin Mira activated her laboratory. She was 45 years old, small and thin, with glasses that made her look like a librarian. But she was not a librarian. She was the most dangerous weapons designer humanity had ever produced. "Wake them up," she said to her team. "Wake everything up." Her laboratories held nightmares. Nanoswarms that could eat through any metal. Reality anchor bombs that collapsed hyperspace tunnels and trapped enemy fleets in normal space. Neural disruptors that targeted alien brain patterns while leaving humans untouched. Weapons that made nuclear bombs look like firecrackers. "They think we are primitive," Mira said softly. "They think we only learned to fly a few hundred years ago. They forget that we spent those years finding new ways to kill each other. We are very, very good at killing." Cross-Earth factories roared to life. Workers who had never held a weapon now built warships. Scientists who had studied peace now designed bombs. Teachers, doctors, farmers, artists, everyone contributed. This was not just a war. This was survival. A young man named Oduheon walked into a recruitment center. He was 22 years old, a factory worker from a small town. He had never traveled beyond his country, let alone his planet. But he had watched the video of Ambassador Tejo dying and something had changed inside him. "I want to fight," he told the officer at the desk. The officer looked at him. "Have you ever killed anyone?" "No." "Have you ever fired a weapon?" "No." The officer nodded slowly. "You will learn. We all will." Duhayan was sent to training. In 3 weeks, he would be a soldier. In 3 months, he would see combat. In 3 years, he would be a legend. But that was still to come. In space, Captain Lee Subin fought her own battle. The Horizon was trapped in Council territory, surrounded by enemy ships. But Subin had not survived 20 years in the military by giving up. "We cannot fight them directly," she told her crew. "So we will not fight directly. We will run. We will hide. We will survive. And we will get our people back." Commander G1 had found something useful. "There is a detention center on Apex Prime's lower levels. Our people are being held there, including Lieutenant Hana." Subin's eyes hardened. "Then that is our target. Plan a rescue mission." "Captain, it is impossible. There are thousands of guards. We have 40 crew members. Then we will need to be creative." Dr. Theron stepped forward. "I can help. I have been studying alien biology. I know their weaknesses, their nervous systems, their diseases. I became a doctor to heal, but I can also hurt." Subin looked at her gentle ship doctor with new respect. "Welcome to the war, Doctor." Back on Earth, Admiral Byung-ho called a meeting of all fleet commanders. They gathered in a huge room, hundreds of officers from every nation, every background. They had been rivals once. Now they were brothers and sisters. "The Council expects us to fight like them," Byung-ho said. "Line up our ships, exchange fire, and die honorably. We will not give them that satisfaction." He pulled up battle plans on the screen. "We will fight like humans. We will use ambushes. We will use tricks. We will use terror. We will attack where they do not expect and vanish before they can respond. We will turn their own people against them. We will make them fear the darkness between stars." He looked at each commander in turn. They have more ships. They have more soldiers. They have more technology. But they do not have more will. They have not been forged in 200,000 years of war. They do not know what we know. "What is that, Admiral?" someone asked. "That there is nothing more dangerous in the universe than a human being who has nothing left to lose." The commanders nodded. They understood. "We will lose many people," Byung-ho continued. "Many ships. Perhaps entire colonies. We will pay prices that no other species would pay. But we will win. Because losing is not an option. Losing means extinction. And humans do not go extinct easily," raised his hand in a fist. "For Ambassador Tejo. For Earth. For humanity." 500 voices answered as one. For humanity? That night, the first human fleet launched from secret bases. 200 ships, small and fast and deadly. They did not travel toward Apex Prime. They traveled toward something else. A Kelthus supply station at the edge of Council space. Undefended, unprepared. The attack lasted 7 minutes. When it was over, the station was dust. The first blood had been drawn. On Apex Prime, High Arbiter Vorlin received the news. For the first time, he stopped smiling. "Send a fleet to destroy them," he ordered. "Which fleet, High Arbiter?" "Any fleet. All fleets. I want those humans dead." But the humans were already gone, vanished into the darkness of space. Waiting for their next target, the war had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn. A terrible lesson about the species it had underestimated. 6 months of war had changed everything. The Galactic Council had expected victory in days. Instead, they found nightmare. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck without mercy, and vanished before anyone could respond. Supply lines burned. Communication stations went silent. Military bases exploded in the night. The galaxy learned new names. The Wolves of Earth. The Ghost Fleet. The Reapers. Names that made soldiers tremble and children cry. And the deadliest name of all, the Ghost of Orion. Her real name was Nam Bora. She was 31 years old, with short black hair and calm eyes that gave nothing away. Before the war, she had been a cargo pilot, moving goods between space stations. Now, she was something else entirely. Her small fighter had destroyed 47 enemy capital ships. Not damaged, destroyed, she flew alone, attacked alone, killed alone. Alien commanders offered massive rewards for her death. None collected. How does she do it? They asked each other. How does one human destroy so many ships? They did not understand. Biora was not special among humans. She was simply good at her job, and humans were very good at war. On the ground, fighting was even worse. General Kong Yunho led the invasion of captured human colonies. The Council had taken these worlds in the early days of war, thinking they would be bargaining chips. They had tortured the colonists, experimented on them, treated them like animals. That was a mistake. Sergeant Oduhayan was part of the Liberation Force. He was not the same young man who had walked into a recruitment center 6 months ago. His eyes were harder now. His hands knew how to kill. Remember General Yunho told his soldiers before they dropped from orbit, "These aliens hurt our people. They tortured our brothers and sisters. But we are not them. We kill soldiers. We destroy weapons. We do not hurt civilians. We are humans, not monsters." Duhayan remembered those words as he fought through the colony. He killed enemy soldiers without mercy. But when he found an alien child hiding under a table, he lowered his weapon and walked away. The child lived. Other aliens noticed. They saw that humans killed those who fought, but spared those who surrendered. This was different from what Vorlon had told them. Vorlon had said humans killed everything. Vorlon had lied. The liberation of the colonies has produced something else. Evidence human prisoners told stories of what had been done to them. Doctors, scientists, ordinary people. All tortured in the name of research. All treated as less than animals. The stories were recorded. The videos were shared. Across the galaxy, species that had supported the Council began to question. Was this justice? Was this honor? Was this what they wanted to be part of? 3 species withdrew from the Council. 5 more began secret talks with Earth. Vorlon was losing. The Battle of Apex. Prime began on a cold morning. Admiral Choi Byung-ho had gathered 500 ships. The Council had gathered 50,000. The numbers seemed impossible. But Benjo smiled when he saw them. "They are afraid," he said. "They brought 50,000 ships to fight 500. They know what we can do." The Council fleet formed a wall around Apex Prime. Standard formation. Standard tactics. The same way they had fought for 50,000 years. They expected humans to do the same. Humans did not. First came the reality anchor bombs. Small devices that collapsed hyperspace in a sphere around them. The Council ships could not jump away. They were trapped. Then came the nanoswarms. Clouds of tiny machines that ate through metal and electronics. Ships began to fail. Weapons went offline. Life support stopped working. Then came the human fleet. They did not attack in formation. They attacked in chaos. Small groups striking weak points. Fighters diving through gaps in enemy lines. Ships ramming enemy vessels when their weapons ran dry. It was not elegant. It was not honorable. It was terrifying. Admiral Byung-ho watched the battle from his command ship. His face showed no emotion, but his hands were clenched so tight they turned white. Ships were dying. His ships. His people. The price was terrible, but humans paid terrible prices. After 18 hours of fighting, the Council fleet broke. Ships fled in every direction, but the reality anchor bombs held them in normal space. They could not escape. They could only die or surrender. 60% of the human fleet was destroyed. Over 50,000 humans died that day. But the battle was won. Apex Prime was open. Commander Kim, Han led the boarding party. She was not the same woman who had knelt beside Ambassador Tejo's body. 6 months in an alien prison had changed her. She had been beaten, starved, questioned, and tortured, but she had not broken. She had survived. And now she had returned. Her team cut through the station like a knife. Alien soldiers fled before them. They had heard stories of this human woman, the one with ice in her eyes and fire in her heart. The one who never stopped coming. High Arbiter Vorlon was in his chambers when the door exploded. He looked up to see Hana standing in the smoke, weapon raised, face splattered with alien blood. Behind her stood human soldiers, silent and deadly. "Impossible," Vorlon whispered. This is impossible. Anna walked toward him slowly. In her free hand, she held something small and stained. Taeho's diplomatic badge. She had kept it for 6 months, through all the pain, through all the darkness. Waiting for this moment. Ambassador Park Taeho, she said, her voice cold and steady. Do you remember him? Vorlin's eyes widened. He was a spy. He was my teacher. Hana pressed the badge against Vorlin's chest, leaving a bloodstain on his robes. He came in peace. He believed in peace. He believed beings like you could be reasoned with. She leaned closer until her face was inches from his. He was wrong, and I learned from his mistake. Vorlin was dragged from his chambers in chains. The broadcast went out across the galaxy. The High Arbiter of the Galactic Council, the most powerful being in known space. A prisoner of the species he had tried to destroy. On Earth. People cheered in the streets. On 100 alien worlds, people watched in silence. The war was not over. But everyone knew now how it would end. Admiral Byung-ho stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the burning remains of the Council fleet. His face was tired. His heart was heavy. So many dead, so many ships gone. Was this victory? It did not feel like victory. But then he thought of Taeho, kneeling in peace, murdered by cowards. This is for you, old friend, he whispered. This is for all of them. And the war continued. 2 years after the assassination of Ambassador Park Taeho, the war ended. The Galactic Council was broken. Half its species had surrendered. The other half had been defeated in battle after battle. The great coalition that had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years existed only in history books now. Humanity had won, but victory tasted like ashes. On Earth, the celebrations were quiet. Too many families had empty chairs at their tables. Too many names were carved into memorial walls. Humanity had paid a price that would be remembered for generations. Admiral Choi Byung-ho retired on the first day of peace. He was 65 years old now, and he looked like 90. The war had taken everything from him except his breath. I did what had to be done, he told the reporters who followed him to his small house by the sea. I protected my species, but I am not proud of it. I cannot be proud of the things I ordered. The lives I took. He closed his door and was never seen in public again. Some said he spent his days staring at the ocean. Some said he wrote letters to the families of every soldier who died under his command. Some said he simply waited for death to release him from his memories. Captain Lee Subin took command of a new ship. They called it the New Horizon, and it was the largest diplomatic carrier ever built. Weapons bristled from every surface. A full battalion of soldiers traveled on board. Never again would a human ambassador stand unprotected. Ambassador Taeho trusted the galaxy, Subin told her crew on their first voyage. That trust was betrayed. Now, we carry both olive branches and swords. We offer peace, but we are ready for war. That is the lesson we learned. Aktabik therein surprised everyone. After the war, she did not return to her quiet medical practice. Instead, she organized the largest humanitarian mission in galactic history. Ships filled with food, medicine, and supplies traveled to alien worlds devastated by the conflict. They were our enemies, people said. Why help them? Because they are not our enemies anymore, therein replied. Because children are starving. Because hospitals are empty. Because if we only know how to destroy, we do not deserve to survive. Her mission saved millions of alien lives. In time, those aliens would remember. Not all humans were warriors, they learned. Some were healers. Some were kind. Sergeant Odu Hyan left the military after the war. He had seen enough death. He had caused enough death. He wanted to forget. He traveled to a distant colony world and bought a small farm. He married a woman he met in a local market. They had 2 children. On quiet evenings, he would sit on his porch and watch the sunset. And sometimes he would cry without knowing why. His children never learned what their father had done in the war. He never told them. He wanted them to know only peace. But he kept his old uniform in a box in the closet, just in case. High Arbiter Vorlon was tried for war crimes. The trial lasted 3 months. Evidence was presented from dozens of species. The torture of human prisoners, the murder of Ambassador Tejo, the lies that had started the war. Everything was shown to the galaxy. Vorlon defended himself. He said humans were dangerous. He said he had tried to protect the galaxy. He said history would prove him right. The judges did not agree. On a cold morning, Vorlon was led to an execution chamber. No one came to say goodbye. His own species had disowned him. His allies had abandoned him. He died alone, surrounded by enemies, just as Ambassador Tejo had died 2 years before. But Tejo had died innocent. Vorlon died guilty. That was the difference. Commander Kim Hanna became the new human, ambassador to the galaxy. She did not believe in the soft diplomacy of her teacher. She could not. The galaxy had shown her its true face, and she could not forget. But she was not cruel. She was not unfair. She simply demanded respect, and she got it. Humanity offers friendship to any species that offers friendship to us, she announced at the first meeting of the new galactic government. But we will never again be victims. We will never again kneel before anyone. If you want war, we will give you war. If you want peace, we will give you peace. The choice is yours. The representatives of 100 species listened in silence. No one argued. No one complained. They had learned what happened to those who crossed humanity. The Terran Accords were signed on the anniversary of Tejo's death. A new galactic government was formed, one where no species dominated. All voices were equal. All peoples were respected. It was exactly what Tejo had hoped for. Built on the ashes of those who had murdered him, a memorial was constructed on Apex. Primates stood in the same chamber where Tejo had died. A statue of him, kneeling in peace, one hand extended in friendship. Around him flew the flags of Earth. Below him was an inscription: Park Tejo, Ambassador of Humanity. He came in peace. He believed in peace. He died for peace. We remember. Ambassador Hannah visited the memorial on its first anniversary. She wore her diplomatic uniform and carried flowers from Earth. She placed them at the base of the statue and stood in silence for a long time. A small alien child approached her. The child had blue feathers and large, curious eyes. It was a member of one of the species that had supported humanity during the war. "Who is that?" the child asked, pointing at the statue. Hannah knelt down to look at the child. For a moment, she saw Tejo kneeling before Vorlon. For a moment, she felt the old pain. But then it faded, replaced by something else. Something warmer. "He was my teacher," she said softly. "He taught me that peace is possible, that different species can live together, that hatred does not have to last forever." What happened to him? Bad people hurt him, because they were afraid of what he represented. But we did not let them win. We built the galaxy he dreamed of, even though he could not see it. The child looked at the statue with new eyes. "He looks kind." He was. Hannah stood up and looked at the statue herself. "He was the kindest man I ever knew, and the bravest." She took the child's small hand and walked with it toward the chamber's exit. Above them, through the transparent ceiling, 1,000 human ships patrolled the sky. Guardians of a peace built on sacrifice and blood. Will there be more wars? The child asked. Hannah thought about it. She thought about Vorlon, dead and forgotten. She thought about Tejo, remembered forever. She thought about Duhayan on his farm, and therein saving lives, and Byung-ho staring at the sea. Maybe, she admitted. Probably. The universe is not a safe place. But we will face whatever comes. Together, all of us. She looked up at the stars. "We are not conquerors," she whispered, more to herself than to the child. "We are survivors. And we will never forget what it cost to be here." The child did not understand. But someday it would. Someday, everyone would. Humanity had learned a terrible lesson about the galaxy. The galaxy had learned a terrible lesson about humanity. Perhaps both would be wiser for it. Perhaps not. But for now, there was peace. And high above, where the stars burned cold, an eternal ambassador. Park Tae-ho smiled.